Hey guys, so the sun decides to be my worst enemy, so right now the sun is like not working or helping me out. So if I look completely weird, I am so sorry for that. The sun does not like me apparently. But yes, for today's video, if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Jocelyn, and today we're going to be talking about my school. And now, you may be thinking, what's so interesting about school? But I went ahead and did some research about my college campus and a little bit of history about it, and then some paranormal things that I've heard. And this is a new series that I'm calling. I have no name for it. I don't know what to call it at all. I was gonna call it like Spooky Wednesday, but I was like, that's a little bit stupid, so I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna stick to that. But I thought it'd be really cool if we learn more about my school and the paranormal that's been happening here for the month of October because of Halloween, obviously. But yeah, so I went ahead and did some digging, and today I'm going to tell you guys about the history of my school. And you guys don't know what my school is, I go to UCCS. This is the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. But yeah, so just dug right into the video because I am excited to let y'all know about the history. This may be weird because like I never done one of these videos before, so like having to do the research and then like not memorize it, but like kind of like know my history is kind of, because I suck at history. I was never good at history class, so this is gonna be interesting. Alright, jumping back into 1871, there's a guy named Jackson Palmer. He came into Colorado Springs. Well, he didn't know what Colorado Springs, but he came here and was like, I'm gonna create a town. So he's like the founder of Colorado Springs, basically. And after a while, tuberculosis was a big thing happening across the world, and it was getting a lot of people sick. So he talked to a guy named Dr. Irwin, and he gave him 100 acres of land and $50,000 to open up like a tuberculosis hospital in Colorado Springs, and that's what he did. So in 1903, Dr. Irwin created what is known as the Craigmore Sanatorium, basically where you get treated for tuberculosis. And so from between like the 1913 and the Great Depression, many people came to the Craigmore Sanatorium to be cured from tuberculosis. So about like tens of thousands of people came into Colorado Springs trying to get a cure from this sanatorium hospital, because there was like a lot of people were getting cured. Like the people that came into the hospital, half of the time, like almost of the time, like people were getting cured. And so they were hearing like good results about this hospital and was like, let's go because it's like the best care we can get. So a lot of people were coming here to get like the care. But it was scientists today or historians today believe that even though medicine wasn't advanced that back then, they believed that like the mineral water and like the high attitude and the sunshine was helping people actually get better, and it wasn't any medicine. It wasn't just a hospital, just coming to being here and just kind of help people get better, basically. So a lot of people came after the cure to get better. And some people stayed, they built houses, some people went back home, and then other people passed away from the disease because it didn't get any better, which is really, really sad. So between like the 1880s and the 1890s, 1/3 of people had tuberculosis and were suffering from the disease. But around like the 1900s, 1 out of 10 people were having the disease. So it was getting better, and they were trying to cure it. And then around like 1964, tuberculosis wasn't such a big threat as it was back in the 1880s or in the 1900s. And so they closed down the Craigmore Sanatorium, so they wasn't really needed. And then a year later, this guy by the name of George J. Dwyer, he sold the hospital for $1 to the University of Colorado. It's just funny. It was just $1 basically, and he sold it, and then the hospital opened up again a year later as a school. The school that I am currently going to right now. Basically, yeah. So Craigmore Sanatorium here is called Main Hall. That is where the hospital is taking place. Hopefully I get to go ghost hunting to Main Hall so I can show you guys around the place and what it looked like. I haven't had any news about ghost hunting lately because of the whole COVID-19, but hopefully crossing our fingers. Oh, that's not, I said thumbs up. Crossing my fingers that I get to go and do some ghost hunting and show you guys the place and see how it is. Because there's, out of all the buildings here, the school main hall is the one that has the most stories, which doesn't surprise me since it was a tuberculosis hospital. But yeah, hopefully there. So we're gonna go ahead and move on into the story of the field house. So that was main hall and Dwyer. So Dwyer Hall, I went there at the beginning of last year, and I have a whole video about it. I'll put it in the description below, you guys can see. But Dwyer Hall is where I went last time, and it was really spooky, and I don't know why a guy's named Dwyer. So when they were rebuilding the hospital and everything like that, there was a lot of Native Americans that were living here. There's at least like 30 sites that had evidence that Native Americans were living here in the area back in the 1880s. In the 1890s, there was evidence showing that Native Americans had their homes set up and were preparing like tools and items and just living their lives basically here by the field house, which I will have a video coming about that soon. And there's like a little territory, like literally like 5-minute drive out of the school, but it's like really close. It's still part of UCS's property, and there's if you guys don't know what the field house is where basically you train for sports and all that stuff. So it's still UCSF property. It's just a little bit far from the school, not too far. It's just 5-minute like drive, so it's not bad. But yeah, so that's the field house. And they believe that Native Americans, before they built the field house, they set up their homes and there were people living. And then later, I'm not exactly sure. There wasn't a lot of information about what happened to them, but they were kicked out. But I think they just moved out because Colorado Springs was becoming such a large city that they probably left and went somewhere else, sadly. But yes, so a lot of stories that we get from the field house is that these ghost hunters came to check up the field house, and they were looking around, and they got a lot of like words of Native Americans. They got like horses, they got arrows, they got a bunch of words of just Native Americans, and a lot of people talking at once. And now they believe that Native Americans used to live there, which according to the sources that I've researched, it was true. There were some evidence and sightings that Native Americans were living here, and so that's what I believe, like that. There's some like ghosts that are from the Indian Native American heritage that are still haunting the place, which is really cool and really sad at the same time, you know. So moving into the last building, that is one of the hauntiest. Is that even a word? Hauntiest? I don't think so. Even though. Moving into the houses, this house has to be one of the scariest places I've ever been. Literally, I don't even know how to explain it. It's freaky. Like literally, like it's like a house and everything. There's some classes that happen in there, and some events that happen in there. But like they have like this creepy basement, and just everything about it is creepy, like the pictures and everything. So yeah, I'll tell you about the history of that one. All the birds are singing. In 1935, a man by the name of Larry Heller came into Colorado Springs from New Mexico, and he started to build his home. And so he got some property, and he started to build his home. Since he was in New Mexico, he was really inspired by the buildings that were there, and so he created his home the way that some New Mexico's homes look like. Here's a picture. He later met another police officer. She was the first female police officer in Colorado Springs, and her name was Dorothy Kemp. And soon they married in 1936. So Dorothy and Larry lived in a tiny home together, and Larry went to do some like big projects. He was in World War II, creating like posters and publication for the army and things like that. And then he was later into a company which called Alexander Film Company, where he would create commercials and movies, and he actually was in some of the movies. Pretty cool. Larry died at the age of 77 in 1983, and Dorothy went ahead and donated a lot of his artworks. He was like an artist, so throughout like his like free time, he would create like artworks and paintings and all those things. So Dorothy went ahead and donated all of those, and she donated some to UCCS, my school, and then she also donated her home to UCCS, where now currently today is used to teach educational art and humanities. And then she later dies in 1999. Outside of their Heller house, there is a grave marker that shows their remembrance, and their long association of the property. So that's Heller House. There wasn't much to it. It sounded like a normal family, and they just did stuff. And then they later passed away sadly, and then they donated the property. But people believe that because the Hellers were so like, they loved their property and they took care of it really well, then now they are attached to it, and that's who's currently haunting the place. I'm not really sure, but that's what people believe in. And so yeah, so learning about everything was so cool. Well, that is all for the video. If you liked it, subscribe and like. Not this. But yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing day. I have more videos coming soon for Spooky Wednesday, even though that's not what I'm going to call it. Hopefully I have a better name next week, but I really don't have a name. Yeah, so next Wednesday, we're going to go ahead and dive into one of the buildings, and we're going to do some ghost hunting, because why not? Bye guys, have an amazing weekend, week, wherever day you're watching this, and be safe. Bye.